public comments. Invite those who wish to address the commission and have comments to please approach the lectern and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Fred McGuire. I live at 674 South Park Street here in Casper. Been a Natrona County resident for 38 years with the school district as a math teacher and elementary principal for 35 years. 3 years ago I retired, and now I'm just playing outdoors. That's what I came out to Wyoming to do. Do a lot of hiking and fishing and hunting, and just love to be out there. Really, the first thing I want to thank you for is our incredible Nordic facility that we have here, and also, and I know Mr. O'Hearn is here, but yeah, he's still here. Also, the parking, the winter parking for the bridle trail. Thank you so much for that. It's been, over the years, we were parking, illegally parking right away, and that wasn't the greatest deal. The other issue I have, on January 6th of this year, this commission approved a bill to the American Land Council for $1,000. I'm just curious do you remember that? It was one of probably hundreds of bills that you approved that. Their mission statement, and I can read that, the mission of the American Lands Council is to secure local control of Western public lands by transferring federal public lands. Sounds like a great idea. I, as a sportsman, along with many other sportsmen's groups, have come to really be opposed to the idea of transferring federal lands to the states. Yeah, I know the feds don't do everything right, but when we have a $50 million fire season in the state of Wyoming, and we have to spread that out among 600,000 people, it's not quite the same as spreading it out among 320 million people. I just really urge you to take a good look at this. I don't know if you plan to continue to give to that organization. Oddly enough, in today's paper, Star Tribune, there is a watchdog, an outdoor or a public lands watchdog group that is asking 3 state attorneys general to investigate a Utah landmaker who has led to the push for the western states to take control of this public lands. This person, Ken Ivory, is the American Lands Council head man. He's the one that got this thing all going. And just for your information, in 2013, American Lands Council earned $228,000. Of that, $95,000 went to Mr. Ivory's salary, and $19,715 went to his wife's salary. And again, they're asking for this to be investigated because they definitely feel that there's some stuff going on here that probably shouldn't be. So my question, rhetorical question to you, and you of course are welcome to comment on it, but do you want to continue to support this group? And I do have, again, not a lot of time here, Chris Madsen of the Wyoming Wildlife Federation put out a great essay about this whole issue. And again, it sounds so good on the outside, but when you dig into it, it's not so great. Also, the Albany County Commission just last night passed a resolution not wanting to transfer federal lands to the states. Along with Teton County, they've already done that, and I think there may be one other county that's going the other way on this, saying, no, we don't want to control this land. It's too much for us, and there are lots of sportsmen out there that don't want this. So I can, who I give this to, and I'd love to have you.
To the clerk or to the county attorney?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the resolution and the article.
So, do you have any comment on that? Is that something, I don't know where it came from. Did the public have any input on that?
And of course, where Mr. Ivory is coming from is a promise that was made by the federal government to the states in their enabling acts, promising them the public lands within their borders. That was guaranteed by Congress to the individual states, and that promise has not been kept, obviously.
Right, but there's a lot of other issues there. A lot of people say that that's very much illegal and this can't happen.
And there's been, 16 states who have had the public lands transferred to them, but they're all
Right.
east of Colorado.
Right.
Now, and let me say this, one of the things that is happening is that it's starting to morph, and it depends on who you talk to, but it's beginning to morph into a local government and federal government cooperation on managing those lands. So we're starting to see that coming out of this effort, but it keeps it in the public eye and keeps the federal government paying attention. And when I say a local and federal government cooperation, they've already signed an MOU that allows Sublette County to be involved in the harvest of forest lands. It's not a huge project, but it is a pilot project. Now, we're also going down that road with grazing and other uses. So that's the avenue that I would say that Wyoming is going toward. Not that that's where we're going to end up, but that's kind of where we'd like to take this. Or at least that's the direction I'm seeing, particularly out of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association.
I'm just concerned because the state of Utah right now, 1/3 of what the private land in Utah used to be state land. Nevada, at one point, had 2.7 million acres of state land. They have 3,000 now. They're not as fortunate as us to have the oil and gas, the energy business pay the bills. But I am concerned that, yes, I mean, we're talking about management, but if we do truly transfer this land over to the state, that in hard times, I'm not going to have a place to go play. You're not going to have a place to go play. And I think we really need to be concerned about that.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner.
I am watching what Ivory's doing and am somewhat in favor of that. I don't think there's a snowball's chance that he's going to get it done.
Right.
But if the state would acquire that, and maybe not the same as state land that we know it today, but maybe in a different kind of a state land, not school trust land, kind of a different kind of a state land, there would still be access on it.
Right.
But there would not be the regulations that the federal government has on everything from drilling and fracking and no use and sage grouse, and it just wouldn't have a lot of those hang-ups that we're finding on federal land right now. And so it is becoming more of a state management type thing instead of just state ownership.
Right.
And I tell you, one of the problems in the federal government right now is the people on the ground, and we had them down in the office this afternoon, they don't have a say. They're getting told what to do from Washington, and you cannot manage millions of acres in the West from a desk in Washington, D.C. Can't be done.
Right.
Now, I understand the access. That's great. And the hunting and the fishing and that. But I can't see that disappearing. And I don't think it should become state land as we know state land right now.
Right. Well, as we all know, state land is managed to maximize revenue for the schools. And, I remember about a year ago, October, I went to the subcommittee of legislators about studying this issue. And all day long, there wasn't a single word mentioned about the public's access, about sportsmen. It was all about how we can cut more trees down and we can, and I guess maybe my friends in the oil and gas business and the ranching business, they complain all the time about the federal overreach, and I understand that. I'm just so worried about losing it. It's a national heritage. I'm just very, very, I would love to see you go the other way on it and like Albany County and Teton County, but
Well, they did ask us for 5,000.
Yeah, there's different levels, I got a platinum or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other public comments?
Ben Coucher, 660 North 6 Mile Road. I wanted to see how it turned out before I made a public comment. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I've generally noticed that there's been a lot of rain falling in Natrona County. I realize, well, I look up once in a while, and I can only imagine how that has impacted Mr. Hagler's resources and his ability to provide those resources to the county. That said, I want to agree with Mr. Knight in saying that it's been 18 months, for reasons that are known to myself and the Commission, that there has been any kind of maintenance or presence by the county on the newly established part of 6 Mile Road. That said, this month in June, the college, I would guess, who are our neighbor, but really don't have anyone live there, but will have a lot of guests traveling up and down 6 Mile Road to their facility. I would encourage that any maintenance you can do in the short term, obviously looking for what you have planned in the long term, but that can be discussed at some other time. But I believe that any maintenance in the short term, before that event occurred, would be prudent for the county and for the residents on 6 Mile Road. So I'm just encouraging it, and it's a self-serving encouragement. That's my public statement. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
And, Mike, I see you back there.
Come on down, quit hiding. Yeah.
Well, and we've got the college national finals going on, I believe, beginning next week. Do you have any plans to go down that road? I know you've got 7 culverts around the county that have washed out in this, and I know you're up to your eyeballs about 24/7.
I looked at the road yesterday, it's got about 10 potholes on it, and we'll get those patched as soon as we can. And then we're gonna blade the south end of it, which gravel. So, if I can get it back on the chip seal program that we have going, if they can fit it in, have enough chips, because we took it out of that, might get it chipped yet this summer.
Okay. As in Mr. Chairman, that's what I was thinking is when this was all going on and we were kind of surprised it was not our road, we pull it off the list. But I think now we can't do a gravel pit or two that we wanted to do, so I'll bet we could slip it in.
Yeah, I appreciate all your help, and it was just a thought. I know Mike had been down there today. I spoke to him before the meeting, so I appreciate any efforts that he's able to bring down that road.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thanks, fellas.
Any other public comments?
Linda Bergeron, 2352 South Coffin Avenue. I have a question about the roads that you are transferring to the city. What happens with those properties within that area? Does that mean that they will be moved? Those properties be assimilated into the city, much like the area was?
They either already are or are scheduled to be annexed into the city. That's why we did these road transfers.
Mr. Chairman, they annexed the land beside them and we give them the road too. That's what we did tonight. They've already annexed the road, the property
The
beside
property adjacent to it. Now, there are some stretches where on the other side of the street have not been annexed to within the city,
but it's in their growth area.
but it is within their growth area.
The city's growth area.
Correct.
But they're not automatically annexed, correct?
Correct. And they have to sign an annexation agreement in order to be annexed into the city.
Of their own,
The individuals,
of their own accord.
yes.
Okay, that was my question. I wanted to know how that process
I
works.
can't speak to the exact percentage, but yeah, there's a process that they have to go through at the city, which we're not familiar with here.
Okay.
in order to be annexed into the city. But these are all either surrounded mostly, entirely, or in large part by the city already. That's why we did this.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is staying ahead of what might happen with Robertson Road then? Is this, because it will affect the home that we're building on Larkspur. So I'm just trying to understand the process.
That on Robertson Road, from the intersection of Robertson Road and Poison Spider,
Went to Mills.
back to Mills, that is already within the city limits of Mills.
Okay, so I'm not
That
talking about the
going
other
south to the power line, specifically to the power line, because that is the edge of the growth area, that is also within Mills.
So you're talking north of Poison Spider? Or south? Where are you wanting to know about?
toward the mountain.
Toward the mountain would be south. So
That's going to go to Mills?
it's already there,
It's already there, clear to the
That
fence
was
line on
annexed.
the west side.
2 months ago.
Well, I understand that, but I didn't understand it was, I thought it was only to the power station.
Power station.
Power line.
No, just from the power line, the east-west power line, north then is within the city of Casper, and it's already been annexed.
So when was it annexed?
3 years ago, I believe.
I think you said it from the power line north.
From the power line south,
South.
it's been annexed into the city.
South.
That's within the city limits already. The conversation that we're having with the city on Robertson Road is who, for that 200 or 300 feet underneath the power line, technically, that's still ours. All the rest of it is either Casper's or Mills.
But it's only under, that much of the road under? What I'm trying to
That is
find
still
out is
counted.
how it's affecting across the river.
It's not.
Okay, it's not affecting that?
Across,
Only what the city of Casper annexes.
Paradise Valley.
yes. Oh, it doesn't have anything to do
That's the
with
part, yeah, has nothing to do with that.
So it's still in the county, right?
You are still in county.
You
Okay,
own it.
perfect, that answers my question. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments? If not, commissioner comments. Commissioner Schwaber.
Mr. Chairman, I do have actually a fairly lengthy comment tonight. I didn't pull the contract for the biathlon tonight because I, for the most part, I had my objections kind of cleared up. I kind of object to it, but we'll call it, I don't object to it this year. Next year, I'm going to object to it. There was a news broadcast last week. Our rig count, our current rig count is at pre-World War II levels. Going back through some of the 1 cent funds, I guess I'm befuddled. Looking back, I'm trying to, and I'm going to look at Tracy for this. Do you have a listing of the top priorities for our 1 cent funds?
No.
Of where citizens want that money spent? I can't seem to find where that.
Can I offer some comments on that?
Sure.
Okay, we have 3.9, roughly 3.9 billion per year in 1 cent fund revenues.
Okay.
When we went to the voters, prior to going to the voters, this was one of the projects that we went to the voters with, and we committed $500,000 of 1 cent funds to this project.
Okay.
So each year then, what became apparent to me was everybody in the 1 cent who asked for 1 cent funds started calling me. When do I get my money?
Right.
So I talked to each one of them and said, well, we only have, remember, we only have a maximum of 3.9 available. And
Okay.
those are projections. So you tell me how much you need each year.
Right.
So each of them broke down their needs for us.
Mhm.
And that was that sheet that I faxed or emailed to you that has the yearly breakdown of who gets how much each year. The
Right.
first year, I believe, the total ask of on demand was somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.4 to
Okay.
3.5.
I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
because based on the comment that was made by our county clerk yesterday, her comment was, "We have never done it this way before. We have never done it this way before in our 1 cent funding. We have never done it this way before." So that tells me that however this 1 cent process was done this time has never been done this way before, which leads, I don't know. It leads me to
What are you
believe,
referring to, though?
it leads me
What
to,
hasn't been done?
I don't know, Mr. Chairman. We would need to talk to Ms. Renee Vito about that, because it leads me to believe that some promises were made about this 1 cent monies by someone, I don't know who, but a comment that was made yesterday in our office that this was never done this way until this year, that leads me to believe that this is not the proper way that this is to be done. Okay, I can't find out what our top priorities are for the 1 cent. Nobody has that information. I'm going to the city of Casper to find out what our county top priorities for 1 cent money is. I have a problem with that. Why am I forced to go to the city of Casper for Natrona County's 1 cent monies, priorities? Can anybody explain that to me? No.
We did not establish priorities. We,
Then why aren't we? 1 cent funds
We
are,
have-
1 cent funds are extra monies. And in fact, if you read the comments, the number one written comment separated by the citizens that self-identify themselves as county residents is 1% funds that are not supposed to be part of our regular operating budget. Number one comment. That is the number one comment. Public safety doesn't even come in until number 8. The written comments. So if 1% funds are not supposed to be part of our normal budget and we're not listening to the citizens, does anybody have a problem with this? I have a problem with this. So if we're not listening to our citizens and we're not establishing 1% funds based upon what the citizens want, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have a huge problem with this. Number 2 on that list, let me continue.
While we're here,
Okay.
and it's fresh on my mind, we absolutely did address the public's asks. Number 1 ask
Okay.
were roads, thus the neighborhood road project.
But you just told me we didn't categorize those.
Because Chadwick
So
is
we did or we
lying.
didn't?
We didn't prioritize. Other words, we didn't say, when we give $100, we're going to give you that first $100. They all have equal weight. So after you establish
Okay.
that, then you go and figure out who needs how much per year to accomplish what we promised the voters.
Okay,
And that list is what I have provided you. And then we went to each of those groups and said, how much do you need each year? What will meet your needs each year?
Okay.
And then that was that next list that I provided you, that shows that breakdown of who gets how
Okay.
much each year. Some of the entities could wait a year, 2 years for their money, so they fell into, instead of 2016, they may have fallen for the bulk of their money to come into 2018, and I'll use the fairgrounds as an example. They have to repoint that the industrial building.
Okay.
So they can get by this year with
Okay.
just 50 or 75,000, whatever the dollar amount was. So that will keep the bricks from falling off the industrial building.
Okay.
And the floor.
And the floor is,
Okay.
the floor is going to be about $250,000.
Okay.
I believe it's 240 was the estimate. Well, that comes in year 3.
Okay.
He said, year 3 fits me fine.
Okay.
But we sat down and had that conversation with everybody that we made a commitment to in 1 cent and put that out to the public. This is what you're voting on. If you vote for this, this is what the county intends to do with these dollars. And so we have made a commitment to the county and fully intend
But
to.
why when I
to-
asked for those top 10, nobody in the county can
But
get
we
those to
didn't,
me?
we did not prioritize the top 10. We didn't say that you get the first $100, you get the next $100.
Well, I'm not saying a priority. I want to know how the citizens of Natrona County said, here's what I want our 1 cent funds spent on. And nobody has that. Why?
Mr. Chairman, I think Eileen's got it. I've got it
She
on my
doesn't have it.
computer.
I've already talked to her.
We had all those meetings.
Yeah, we've
I've
got,
got it on my
She doesn't
computer.
have it.
those surveys were,
She doesn't have it.
those
Well,
surveys.
All I've got is written.
I'll email it to you.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, those numbers were all done in meetings, in city, county meetings held all over the county, numerous of them, and those numbers are all available.
Okay. The next thing, the next problem I have with the 1 cent funds is I hear about this opportunity fund and I hear about these 1 cent monies to help these folks with the improvement service districts. And I'm sorry, giving 1 cent funds that are meant for an entire county, just just for free to small portions of a community is not right. I think if we're going to do something, we give them a low interest loan and they pay the money back. To give them free money, I don't think is right.
So
it's
you
a
object to
loan.
the neighborhood roads project?
Absolutely, and I object to the opportunity fund, 100%. It needs to be a loan, because 1 cent funds need to benefit the community as a whole and all residents of Natrona County, not just the residents of Mark Twain and Tom Sawyer Drive. That's ridiculous to give $25,000 to somebody so they can blade their road.
That enhances the quality of life, and we have numerous neighborhoods in Natrona County.
Absolutely.
That need this help.
Absolutely.
And that's what it was set up and designed for, is to help those people, but
That's
not
all.
take the whole load on. They need to help themselves too. Thus the matching
I still think,
aspect of it.
I still
And
think
that
it
was
needs
the
to be
promise that we made to the county when we sold it.
I think it needs to be a low interest loan.
And you're willing to make that suggestion and,
That's my opinion, and that's all I have.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Key?
Yeah, actually I do. I'd like to start with that buzzer over there. I think that thing needs to go away unless we have a crowd full of people in here that need to allot each person, a segment of time. Because otherwise it's annoying and I think you're limiting free speech. It's just interrupting people when they're trying to give comment. And I'd like to toss it, to be quite honest. I agree with Mr. Schlager. I almost pulled the biathlon too, because the last time I remember in a work session, us talking about that, is some concerns were raised, and as I left there thinking that we were gonna invite them back to a work session, because maybe I too have some questions or comments. I mean, it's a pretty big deal in the county, and I've got no idea what the hell's going on with it, right? And I would like to be informed.
We've got an entire book on it.
I don't want to read the book, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to talk to the people when they showed up, right? I wanted to ask them questions and get input, but yet you decided, or who decided on, you guys were going to have a meeting and just take care of it on your own. Was there a quorum there?
No, there were two, and that's why they weren't three.
Then why did
That would be a public.
Well, who made that call?
I did. And we had concerns with the contract and how it was worded.
Well, we all did, didn't we?
Yes, and so we had our county attorney there, and we resolved those issues and have moved forward.
No, you have. Apparently, you took it on yourself and another commissioner, but it's not even a quorum. You need a quorum to take that kind of action, right? I mean, there's 5 commissioners, and I didn't know anything about it. I would have appreciated the opportunity to sit down with those folks and have a discussion.
The grant, this was the contingency agreement. This is so everything else has been done. This is the agreement that says the county will do these things. The biathlon club will do these things, and the state will give you the money to do them. That's what we were talking about. Part of that is, and the big concern.
The last time in the work session, there was concern enough of the commission, whatever, that we had the discussion and that we were going to have them back in and talk about it, right? Well, that didn't happen. You took it upon yourself to discuss it, take care of it on your own.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I can remember that conversation, and I think these guys, we wanted to know what their plan was, and these guys met with them and came up with a plan. And, to bring it up now, you should have pulled it. If you had...
I should have pulled it. That's my bad. I should have pulled it.
Should have pulled it, because you voted on the consent agenda.
I did. Won't happen again.
Okay.
Guarantee it.
But pull it off, or come in and talk to these
And just
guys.
have a conversation with us. I'm not unavailable.
How am I going to know? I didn't even know you had the meeting. How am I going to know to ask the question? Because I was still honestly waiting was on to show up on a work session.
Well, it showed up when Michelle sent out the agenda.
Yeah, I look. All right, let's move on.
It was on there.
We need to talk about travel. 4 weeks ago, roughly, you said that you and Rob were going to a meeting, right? And I was guessing, I was completely wrong, that maybe you're heading to Lander, Rock Springs, I don't know, somewhere for your meeting. And I know that Natrona County Commission has had several times in the past, has had to ask other departments to limit their training and travel budgets, right? I was floored last week when I saw that there was a voucher to prove your flight to Hawaii. I was absolutely floored. And I think it's even more pertinent that a county commissioner take advantage of something like that, because one of our primary responsibilities is the budget. So in doing so, you have forfeited your ability to ask another department to be conservative in their travel and training budgets. I've got to applaud Connie Jacobson last week, who was talking about she tries to complete her certifications that are required for her, that she only tries to travel on the north end of Colorado because the south end of Colorado is more expensive and more time away. And you guys went to Hawaii. I'm speechless.
How much did you pay me to go to Hawaii?
I don't know. I asked that question. I don't know.
0.
Well, thank you for that, right?
You paid the registration.
Except for, you know, convention fees, right?
Pay the registration. And those meetings we don't have any control where those meetings go.
You have control about whether or not you go.
And we also have control of whether we're going to be sitting at the table on these particularly public lands, and that's the committee that I sit on, is the public lands. Rob sits on, and it's a steering committee. And we have input, direct input. This keeps us from being on the menu as opposed to being at the table. This is what we do at these meetings, is we discuss how county commissioners can influence federal legislation. How do we do that? Who does that? That's what happens at these meetings. So know that they're not just a vacation trip. I paid, other than my airfare and motel room, I paid all my other transportation fees, all my meals, and I do that on a routine basis. I spend thousands of dollars a year out of my own pocket to go to Lander, to go to Washington, D.C., to advocate for not only Natrona County, but Wyoming. And that's where Rob's position puts him. He has to advocate because he is vice chairman of the WCCA, Wyoming County Commissioners Association. So that's why he goes. I go as, I was the first one to go. I have more experience, and I am on the Public Lands Steering Committee. So I sit at the table, I vote. I have a vote. If you're not on that, you don't get to vote. And what we face is just like any other legislation, is if we're not there and we're not voting, then the eastern states crush us because they have votes too.
Well, you know what, you can try and rationalize it, that maybe I stand alone. Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't think this was a conservative move, and I'm fine with that, right? But your comment when you came back last week is you can't do anything until there's a change in administration. I'm thinking, you know what, I don't think that was money well spent, if that's all you brought back. Okay, and in the past, you know, we've had some discussion about, you know, sending different commissioners to Washington, D.C. You know, we were all kind of aware, right? And I was completely unaware of this, and I guess I'm just out of the loop on several things. That included. But you don't answer to me. I don't answer to you. I guess it'll just, you know, we'll both be answering to the public, right?
And I do answer to you anytime you ask a question.
Apparently, I don't even have the ability to attend a meeting that concerns a major, you know, $500 million dirt project on Casper Mountain because you handled it.
That had been voted on a long time ago.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. When I left that meeting, they were going to come to a work session, okay? And we were all going to have an opportunity to participate. That did not happen.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Henry.
I think that you did vote on the biathlon before.
I did too.
I think
I have in the
voted
past.
against it.
The biathlon in the past? No,
Yeah.
no.
Did you vote for it in the past?
Yes, I did.
And then we voted to let them go to SLIB and get that money.
That's correct.
So, and I can't remember which, did you vote for that?
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, so all we're talking about now is the paperwork. So we've all approved it in the past.
This commission raised concern about the biathlon project, okay? And the discussion when I left, and the understanding was that they were going to come back, and we were going to have an opportunity to discuss it, see where's that going to touch base, right? Didn't happen.
Well, I didn't understand that they
understand
come to a work session. I figured these guys would just get with them and handle it too.
Which we did.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lawson.
I think this has been enough of a forum for one evening, so I don't have the comments.
I'm out.
And as for myself, I have nothing this evening other than to say one of the, I thought a very interesting point that came out at the WIR conference, which is the Western Interstates Region Conference in Hawaii was that something that we don't see very much of here, and that is SRS funding, that's Secure Rural Schools. Where that comes from is as forest lands have been put off limits, the federal government has made promises to support those communities' schools who are deeply affected by that lack of funding, because the timber industry has been decimated. An individual from Headwaters came and made a presentation, and he talked about how we can do this, how we would pursue getting the funding permanent through the federal government. An individual from, a fellow commissioner from Washington State said, folks, we need to change the paradigm. We need to find out how much it costs the federal government for this program. We can find that out pretty easy, versus what it would add to the nation's economy if we put those people back to work. And so he challenged everybody to work on that. Let's get these people back to work. Let's get this money back into the treasury. Those are the kinds of things that we work on a routine basis when we go to these meetings. And if it's not SRS, it's PILT, which is last year, or for the current fiscal year, about $3.4 million for the county. We work on ESAs, Endangered Species Act. The list is endless, what we talk about and work on. The Public Lands Committee is probably the busiest and has the largest agenda. So there's lots for us to talk about. Rob is on the Energy Committee. So if we don't go and vote for these issues, it just doesn't happen. The eastern states, because they are so much more populous than us, just override whatever we want to do because there's more of them. So we have to be at the table voting. And if you're not there voting, they will outvote you. And they will force things down our throats that we don't like. Waters of the U.S. Now, if we were lucky, Waters of the U.S., NACO, which is all commissioners from the country, NACO adopted a strong position against Waters of the U.S. And that will affect everybody's personal property rights. The federal government will be able to tell you what you're going to do on your property with these newly adopted rules. I believe that's going into effect either this week or next week. That the EPA is going to make those rules official. So that's what we do on these trips. And we talk to legislators, congressional and Senate, both House and Senate, when we go. And not just ours, we talk to other states. We talk to the BLM. We talk to the Washington BLM. We talk to the Washington Forest Service. We talk to the Fish and Wildlife Service. We talk to the actual directors of those departments and say, here's our concerns. We think you're overstepping your federal bounds, even on this fracking rule that just came out. I personally spoke with the BLM about that and addressed them and our concerns and our state's concerns about their meddling in the state's affairs. So these aren't trips taken lightly. We do a lot of these at these meetings. And that concludes. Commissioner Henry.
Just for full disclosure, I'm going to South Carolina the 10th of July. And just exactly what the chairman was talking about, there will probably be a resolution to outlaw fracking.
Will you be spending county tax dollars?
I'm not sure yet.
Well, you know
But
what?
probably.
Well, you know what? If you are, I think we need to come up with a policy and decide, I mean, if you're going to be spending county tax dollars, I think the commission ought to have some input on it, right?
Okay.
Okay? Right? I mean, there's never really been
I don't know, a hard, fast rule, but you know what? I think there needs to be from this point forward, right?
We're in a budget
You know
session.
what I mean? I mean, seriously, because, I mean, what the hell? If I find, you know, a meeting up, you know, in Congo, I'm just gonna up and go, and you're gonna sign the voucher? I don't think so. Right? But I can come back and tell you, you know, it was pretty beneficial. You know, so if you're gonna be spending tax, you know, county tax dollars, if we're gonna be gone, and maybe the thing is just, you know, out of state or whatever, you know what? The commission should have some input. The commission should have some say, and that's only fair.
Sounds good.
Any other comments?
I'll be voting against that resolution to end
You know what?
fracking.
And that is not a conservative thing to say, right? But
It isn't.
You vote how you vote, bud.
You want to do away with fracking?
You want to start this discussion?
We have got to, as county commissioners, we've got to draw the line and say, for our government, for our people in this county, for the state of Wyoming, we have to have fracking. That's the only way to get it out of the ground.
Excuse me for this, but how the hell did my comments about you flying to Hawaii, as chairman flying to Hawaii, I didn't mention your name once, because I don't know, you know, who paid for your trip and your food, right, and everything else, right? How did we get from that to whether or not I'm for fracking?
Well, you were very concerned about trips, and I just told you I was going to South Carolina. And I'm representing Natrona County and the state of Wyoming. So you won't be blindsided by the fact that if you get a voucher that says South Carolina on it, you'll know about it.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to be spending county tax dollars, the commission should have the opportunity, whatever, to, you know, say yay or nay, right? Okay? And I think you're well aware of where I stand on fracking, Ron.
Well, I would hope so.
Okay, if there's no further comments, this meeting's adjourned.
I'm headed to Chariman. I still got a ride.